listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. Our presenting sponsor is the end-to-end production solution, Green Slate. Whether it's start paperwork or time cards, purchase orders, or reports, everything is digital, everything is in the app, and you can work from wherever you are. Paper is so over, and you need an alternative. Call me. Here's my number, 310-789-2001, extension 323, or jhw@gslate.com. This week I sat down with Edith Mudge. Edith is a composer and a music producer. To date, her music has been placed in 790 episodes of 259 series. Due to her rigorous 3-year training at Hans Zimmer's Remote Control Productions and Bleeding Fingers, and 2 years of full-time composing at Jingle Punks, Edith has acquired a comprehensive set of musical, technical, and collaborative skills. Now, her composing credits include YouTube Premium series Step Up, High Water, Saturday Night Live, and Showtime's The Circus, as well as a plethora of reality TV series including Queer Eye, Project Runway, the Real Housewives franchise, all your favorite stuff. She currently composes for TV, film, podcast, live theater, and more, with a specialty in electronic drama, synth pop, and choral music. She told me all about being one of the few women in this space, and you are listening to her music right now. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. It's getting to be Christmas, and I think you need a coffee tumbler and to give one to all your lady friends. Okay, here's my conversation with Edith Mudge. Have a listen. What do you do?
I am a composer.
I love it. Tell me more about that.
I have been composing for, aside from my whole life, I've been
apart from since the day I was born.
Apart from that, I have been doing it as a profession for 5 years, or I guess I moved to LA 5 years ago to learn how to do it. And
as a profession?
Yes. So
Let's
I graduated.
Let's go back.
Let's go back. Not to the beginning, but to graduating college, which was just the worst.
Let's go a touch before that. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Redding, Connecticut.
And did you play an instrument?
Yeah, I played piano. And I started learning piano when I was 5 and was super good at that and did some singing, not as good at that, and did a cappella and was the singer-songwriter girl in high school and went off to college and forgot to practice piano for 4 years.
Oops. What'd you major in?
I majored in music. But
you just writing theory the whole time?
Pretty much. No, I studied voice.
Okay.
So I studied voice because I really wanted to get better at that, and I did get better at that, but then I got much worse at piano.
You forgot to play the piano. Right. Were you studying composition in college?
So my degree is just general music.
Okay.
But
where'd you go?
I went to Skidmore.
Okay.
Yeah. Little school in upstate New York. But it's the best. Shout out, alma mater. And so I did study composition there. And I knew from talking to other people in the industry that I was supposed to learn music tech, and that was terrifying.
Oh.
Yeah, because to be a composer these days, you really can't just be a composer.
Because you can't just call an orchestra every time you need to hear something?
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even, having your own instruments and everything, you need to be able to have a way to record it.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to be pretty tech savvy, and that was what made me think that I couldn't be a composer, actually. So I spent 2 years in New York after I graduated, kind of making my own life miserable, working 4 part-time jobs and being I'm a singer-songwriter and doing a gig every 3 months. And
So at some point did you say, I'm going to have to learn this if I'm going to be able to do what I want to do?
Well, what happened for me was that, as I said, I was making my life miserable.
Right. And, this sucks. This is not what I had in mind.
This is I don't know how adults keep adulting for this long.
In Manhattan.
In Manhattan. And my dad got me a plane ticket to LA, and he was like, just check it out. Just see what it's all about. And so I was here for a week and met with some people, and seemed like the general consensus was oh, orchestrating is a thing. So orchestrating is like when you use notation software and you're writing out all the parts for the live musicians. And I was like, that I know how to do. Because like,
are you doing that by hand or are you doing that on a keyboard?
Doing that on a keyboard.
Yeah.
But I had been doing that since I was like 16.
Right. Okay. So you know how to do that.
So I knew how to do that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting way technical here.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'm a musician too. I'm with you.
But I'm getting way ahead of the audience. Sorry, guys.
How did your dad know to send you to LA? I want to know that one.
Yeah, so I did an internship here when I was in college.
Okay.
And I had been all ready to move out to LA after college, and then just like life happened and moved in with a guy in New York and...
Oh, our 20s. The things we do.
Things we do. So yeah, go dad.
Yeah. Okay, he's like, first of all, let me get you away from the guy and send you to LA.
Exactly. So,
were you able to get into orchestration?
well, that's what I came here to do.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm just going to give it a try, and didn't have a job or anything. And I worked at my summer camp. And then right after that, I just got in my car and drove here. And so my intention was to be an orchestrator. I got an internship at Hans Zimmer's studio. And while I was there, I was trying to do like all the educational stuff that everybody was recommending, going to these seminars and panels and all that kind of stuff. And at one of these panels was all the women who had just started the Alliance for Women Film Composers.
Aha.
Ha-ha. And
My people.
Yes, my people. And I had never heard women talking about composing and talking about music tech before, and hearing them talk about like how underrepresented, but also undereducated, I guess, or under...
Yeah, I'm wondering, did you see music tech as, oh, that's a guy thing?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because like I kept trying to learn it. So this is where I think the systemic problem
let's
roots.
discuss.
Yeah. So I feel like, so I started writing songs when I was 9, and I was like, oh, great, I'm a songwriter. I want to be a songwriter. I want to be an artist. I want to do all that stuff. And people kept on trying to get me into music tech. Like my parents were super supportive and like set up a like small recording setup for me, but I had no idea how to use it. And like they offered to like get me lessons and stuff, but like all the people that were teaching lessons were dudes. Yeah. And like this one dude that wanted to teach me, like he was also teaching me drums. And like the last lesson that I had with him, he was like, what makes you want to be a drummer chick? And I was like, what's a drummer chick? I was like, what does that mean about me? Like, what does that say about me?
Right.
And I got all freaked out about it, and I never went back. Because I was like...
is that a radical thing that means something about you?
Exactly.
You can't just be a person who plays drums?
Right. Like, I thought it meant something. I was like, does that mean I'm some, like, freak of nature or something? Like, what's a drummer?
Am I a unicorn now?
Right. So, I feel like I kept kind of having these experiences of just being uncomfortable in the spaces where I could learn music tech. And then it sort of got to this point where I had missed the opportunity a little bit. And when I started asking questions to people, they started treating me like I was dumb for not knowing the answers already.
Great.
Yeah. And
so did you make a decision like, now I'm going to do this and push through and get the resources you needed?
For composing?
For music tech.
Oh, when I got here, you mean?
Yeah. Like there must have been a shift
gradual.
in your brain where you were like, I'm really going to have to do this. And was it hearing the women talk about it?
That was absolutely
made it accessible.
A turning point for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that blew my mind. I was like, wait a second. So there's other people out there who are women who have been treated like they're idiots for asking questions, and who have wanted to be composers but didn't know the tech, and they're successful composers now. Like, I had just never seen that A to B. Right. And I had never...
Because they're talking about the tech creates an obstacle that prevents you from getting to the next thing.
Right.
You know, there was, I remember Dana Belcastro said on this podcast... not to get, just for younger women, not to get bamboozled by all the tech talk. She was like, you know what? Because I'm not dumb. So if you're not making any sense, you need to explain it better.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
And I've also realized to my delight that half the time that tech talk is complete bullshit.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely made up, doesn't make sense.
But it's like this ninja voodoo that just keeps you from asking questions, because if you don't know the first word that came out of their mouth, oh, you must be dumb. So how are you going to Yeah.
100%.
It is horseshit. Let the record show.
Yes. Yeah, and now that I do know what I'm doing, people still treat me like an idiot all the time. And it's almost really encouraging to like look back and tell my 20-year-old self that, like, oh, don't worry, they're not treating you like an idiot because you're an idiot. It's because they're literally just always going to treat you like an idiot.
That's reassuring.
Like, it's weirdly reassuring.
It's not you.
Yeah. It's not, yeah, exactly.
What does that look like in a practical sense?
So a lot of times what I find, like the most common thing is that I'll ask some sort of a tech question to either like colleagues or to, I don't know, people in a Facebook group, because there are a lot of great professional Facebook groups. And I'll ask some question and say like, here's the list of things that I've done already. And do you guys has anyone else encountered this and what did you do? Mm-hmm. And they always just go through the list of things that I already did.
They go back to the beginning.
Like,
let me explain this to you.
Exactly.
As if you know nothing.
Exactly. Or they just flat out won't read it and like I'm trying to think of other
same thing
examples.
Happens in podcasting Facebook groups, by the way.
I bet, because it's audio.
Yeah. Except there are a couple female-only podcast groups where they'll just actually stop and have a conversation and explain it.
Yeah. Yeah, same. We have women composer groups, and that's gotten to be pretty much the only place I ask my questions now.
What is that? God, it's exhausting.
Yeah. But there are definitely times where I'm treated like I'm completely invisible. And like there was one situation in a job that I had where I was trying to explain a tech issue with something that I was being asked. And I was just trying to like explain the issue with that under the given timeline. And I kept being told to ask my male colleague how to do it. But I already knew that my male colleague didn't actually, he had given an incorrect timeline. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to explain to the other people, like...
You're trying to correct it.
I was trying to correct it. But they were like, no, don't worry, your male colleague knows how to do it, he'll tell you.
Because he told us he can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't have a way. Okay, well, let's skip to... You have 1 billion credits, so you got in.
I got in!
Yes.
And I still can't believe it. I'm doing it.
Tell me about getting that first job.
So, pretty much everything that is listed on my IMDb right now is stuff that has happened because I've been working at music libraries. So a lot of, well, not everything on my IMDb, but a lot of it. A lot of my music is like listed in production music libraries, mm-hmm. so people can go in and choose a track and license it for their show. So that's how most of my stuff has gotten picked, and then I get some royalties on the back end from that.
So to do that, do you spend a lot of time composing, recording, giving it to the libraries?
Oh, yeah.
So you're not waiting for an assignment. You're composing all the time.
I'm writing all the time. And so when I was interning at Hans Zimmer studio, I ended up getting a full-time job there and then started assisting the composers that work for his production music library. So I was there for like 2 or 3 years, and that was where I learned all the tech. So like, thank God for the like wonderful dudes at that studio who like were chill about me sitting in a dark room with them all day and like were super nice and taught me how to do tech. So slowly over the course of that time, I started writing, and they helped me with my writing. And so that ended up in that library. And I feel like I'm still starting to see all the placements from that. Like, it comes really slowly. Like, I think I was working for a year or two there before I saw my first credit pop up. You just, like, don't really know when it's used until it's used and you get paid. Or until, like, a year later.
Yeah. So it's kind of like winning the lottery.
It is.
Because you put it out there and then wait for it to be chosen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But most libraries are pretty selective about the stuff that they pick, and if you are working for them directly in-house, which I've been lucky to be doing that, then not only do you have much more opportunities to write stuff, and so like you have just more stuff in their library in general, but they're also more likely to like recommend your stuff to clients.
How long are the pieces that you write for the library?
For the first library, it was like 2.5 to 3 minutes, and then the second library I worked for, they were like 90 seconds, and I was writing 3 tracks a day for them.
Yeah, so what does your workday look like?
So, Whew. Well, when I was working at that job, as I said, 3 90-second tracks a day. So basically my day consisted of me like waking up, like centering myself for 2 hours and like getting in my headspace and like writing in my journal and like snuggling with my cats and then like go into work and like for 9 hours just like freaking crank out music. And then like...
Yeah, it doesn't feel like something you could just force out.
No. A colleague of mine likes to call it pooping out a track.
Now, do you like take certain inspiration for the day, or today we need some ballad type thing, or today we're going to do techno rock? Like,
I should have been specific. They give me specific briefs to write for. So the library is always looking to fill specific needs, and so they would like send over an instruction of what kind of music they needed and send some references, some tracks that they wanted to sound like.
Would they send you any video?
Sometimes it depends.
Or would they say make it sound like West Side Story without it sounding like West Side Story?
That's very frequently what it's like.
Okay.
Yes. It's a very fine line learning to be a mimic, but not too much of a mimic.
Don't plagiarize, but have it remind people of the essence of...
Yeah, which sometimes like it's really like touching right up to that line because they really want it to be something like very close to a popular song so that it's like a parody or something that like reminds you very specifically of a certain song. Because like, I mean, so I've gotten stuff on like SNL, which was a dream.
Oh my God.
I know. It's like truly a dream. This is sort of a roundabout example, but stuff that I had specifically written for HGTV ended up in a sketch on SNL about HGTV. It's hard to toe that line, and it's also like, it can be very morally challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so a month and a half ago, I went off on my own, and I'm freelance now. And
Muzzle.
And thank you. I'm still writing for that library, and I'm writing a lot of tracks that are just so much more interesting to me because I'm not being forced to write 3 of them every day. Like,
so are you creating your own
schedule.
independent library now?
That's the goal, sort of. It's a branched off goal. My main thing that I'm doing right now is writing for short films. I'm writing a feature right now. I'm also doing music for like some plays. Like, I've got way too much on my schedule right now. I shouldn't be here, but like,
you have an embarrassment of riches right now. That is wonderful.
And
so
I'm writing for the old library that I was working for.
Okay, so you're also composing to picture.
I am.
Okay, so talk about how that is different.
Oh man, it's super different. So that's probably the first question that I get from people when they find out that I write for media. They're like, what comes first, the music or the video? So scoring to picture is a totally different animal. When you get the video first, the thing you want to do is talk to the director. So, okay, I'm going to go back and just lay out kind of the schedule for you of like what these kinds of projects look like. You get the video, you watch it, you talk to the director about how they feel about this project, how they want it to feel, because obviously the music is going to make a big difference in that. And it's weirdly like you want to get on the same page emotionally with the director. And so I try to like make a personal connection with everybody that I'm working with and like kind of get to know their project and what they want the viewer to leave feeling like. Then we go through and we sort of watch it together, or they give me a list of like moments that they want specifically highlighted, and we sort of talk it through, figure out like where the music should be starting and ending in each scene. And so then I go up and I chop up the movie into those scenes and stick it into my recording software, map out all of the scene cuts. So that's getting really nitty gritty, isn't it? But
there's a lot of math before you even start.
A lot of math before you start. Yeah, it's like 90% stuff that isn't writing music.
Yeah.
Yeah. I frequently find myself emailing and suddenly it's 6 p.m. and I'm like, well, time to start writing.
Let's get on with it. So are you hearing it in your head first, or are you playing around with it, or are you sitting there with your keyboard and have the video up? Like, what'd you process?
It's kind of different every time, honestly. Like, I think a lot of people do have sort of a set process, but I feel like I need to watch the scene once or twice, and once I kind of get a feel for the beats, a lot of times I'll hear like a little melody in my head or something, or hear a rhythm, or I'll think of some element, and it might not be melody, it might be rhythm, it might be something else. So then I will play that out on my keyboard. And the way that composers these days write is using something called sample libraries. So we pretty much have any instrument that you can imagine played on our keyboard. And we have ways of making it sound very realistic. Obviously, nothing beats the real thing, but that can be a budget issue.
But if you need a violin, you can make it sound like a violin.
I can make it sound like a violin. I can make it sound like an orchestra. I can make it sound like some drums. So if I start with a rhythm, like dun, 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 like whatever, start with that and then build something up from there. A lot of times, if the inspiration isn't flowing, it kind of happens once you get something down. You just got to start with something.
Is it better to push through than to walk away in that moment?
Depends on the moment. I find for me, I need to push through, and then once I have something down and I'm playing with it too much and I've just been like working on the same thing for a long time, that's when I need to take a walk
away.
Yeah, because my ears just get fatigued.
Then you're too inside baseball about it.
Yeah.
Do you find that the more you write, the easier it is to write?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when it comes to sort of the tech skills that I was talking to you about, because it gets quicker when you actually like know how to navigate your software. And I also am much less scared now of making something bad, because I've made a lot of bad things.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds, the way you're talking about it sounds like writing, like you put out your shitty first draft, and then it's all editing after that.
Yeah, and when you're writing 3 tracks a day, you're basically writing 3 shitty rough drafts every day. Like, it's not ever going to be a perfect thing when you're writing 3 a day.
Yeah.
So, obviously, some of those tracks I do end up being proud of, and I like a lot of them, and I get into them, and I have fun with them, but certainly can't be all of them.
Well, no, you can't be too precious about it if you're doing 15 a week.
Yeah. It really helped me get over it, because I was absolutely one of those people who was just terrified of showing the world what I could do. Because, like, people would know, like...
Because you got to be perfect.
Yeah. People would kind of know me by whatever I was putting out in the universe.
It's super vulnerable.
It's really vulnerable. And obviously, like, the conjunction of figuring out how to do it technically and making a ton of mistakes has just like gotten me to a place where I'm like, well, the best I'm going to do is the best I'm going to do.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and timelines or deadlines exist for a reason.
Yeah, so to make you stop. It's good enough.
Exactly.
But I think you're prolific. Question mark. Again, just thinking about your IMDb. Because you've done all my favorite shows. We talked about it as you walked in, like Married at First Sight and 90 Day Fiancé. And Escaping Polygamy.
Yeah.
I mean, the music in that. You got it so tense and exciting.
And a lot of these shows I've just never seen.
That's so funny. So you're not composing to picture for those shows? Those are clips?
For those. There are ones that I have composed to picture on. There are like a bunch of nature documentaries on there. There's Savage Kingdom I did a cue on. I feel like I need to like check my own IMDb to remember exactly what projects I've done, because Step Up High Water. Yeah. So Step Up High Water, I co-scored with a colleague, Jeff Peters, and we did season 1 of that show. And season 2 went to another woman composer, Steph Economo. I think that's how you say her name. And anyway, that was my first like real like TV show, which was super exciting. We did that whole thing. But before that, I had been assisting other composers. So at these music libraries, they get just such a variety of work that sometimes you're just writing tracks, sometimes you're scoring a TV show, sometimes you're just scoring a scene in a TV show that normally uses tracks. I did like a fun thing for The Voice a while back that was just like a single scene that they needed specifically scored. And usually I'm just like writing tracks for them. So every day is different in that way. I mean, obviously every day is different now that I'm freelance.
Are you working 9 to 5?
Well, no. I'm certainly trying to keep my work-life balance, and I'm a month and a half in, and I'm forgiving myself for not having it all figured out.
Do you find yourself working more than you think you should be?
Oh, hell yeah.
Like every waking moment?
Yeah, and I'm also reminding myself that the things that don't feel as much like work are work, like emailing and talking to clients and making spreadsheets. It's like,
because you got to do the hustle too.
Gotta do all that stuff.
Do you find that clients perceive music as being gendered?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, talk about that.
So I actually I worked on a long form ad, which was really fun, but it was on women in tech. And so I definitely felt like a connection to that and like wanted to put a little bit of my voice in there. But it turns out I've been told many times that my voice as a musician is very like hard and masculine. So like a note that I kept on getting back was like, this is too masculine.
That's so funny. Like, we hired a girl to get a feminine sound.
I know.
What are you doing?
But I understand what they were saying, and I'm super happy with how the thing came out.
But what does that mean?
I think people tend to think of feminine music as more... Yeah, exactly. I don't know how to say it without doing the hand gesture.
Melodic, flowy, smooth.
Yeah, and sensitive, which is, a traditionally feminine trait.
Yeah.
Whereas people tend to think of masculine music as like hard and gritty and
metal,
like, angry. Like, I've been working in the music industry for 5 years and I'm angry. I've got some anger to write.
I got rage.
It's there are definitely a lot of women composers out there who have the traditionally feminine sound, but there are also a lot of us who are like, hey, we can write any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I know specifically like women who write for like action movies and for horror movies and stuff are always kind of struggling to be like, hey, I can do this job.
Yeah.
I can do it well, because people don't think for some reason that a woman can write hard, scary music.
It's dumb bias.
It's dumb. And also, like, I didn't really realize how pervasive it is. Like, I never thought of music as being gendered. Like, I got a music degree, and even when I was getting, like, pushed out of music tech, like, I didn't think about the fact that, like, the music itself would have sexism.
Right?
Yeah. So people... Well, not just the music itself, but like the jobs that weren't just music tech. Like there's a lack of female conductors and mixers and a lot of, I feel like there's probably, well, I can't speak to this. I was going to say musicians, but I don't actually know the stats on that.
Like, were you supposed to be a music teacher with your music major?
I was definitely supposed to be a music teacher.
Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah. I don't really like teaching.
So you shouldn't.
Yeah. And I spent a long time being like, well, I guess I have to be a music teacher now, but I didn't want to. And so that's how I was miserable in New York for 2 years.
All right. Well, good for you. Talk to me a little bit about the Alliance. Is it Alliance of Female Composers or Women Composers?
Alliance of Women Composers.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Oh, it's so good.
It's the best.
It's so good. They put on all these events specifically targeted to women to help us learn all the skills that will just like help us get ahead, and
the career stuff as opposed to the music stuff.
It's not usually tech stuff, but sometimes it's tech stuff and sometimes it's music stuff. And yeah, it's funny how I keep on equating when you say the music stuff with tech stuff, because like it's all the same in my head. And I think if I sat down to like write a symphony or something, it would just be like so completely opposite of what I feel like I do. Anyway, so the Alliance is truly wonderful, founded by 3 women composers who are truly prolific. And I think about this a lot, that like there are women composers who have had really successful careers, done a ton of stuff, and people have just not heard of them.
Right.
And they're not like at the composer roundtables, they're not on the panels, and it's getting so much better now. Like the Alliance has been such a great advocate for us. But it makes me sad to think about like all the amazing women who've had like decades-long careers and been in front of the orchestra and been scoring movies all on their own, and like either had a guy like taking the credit for it, or just like not really being able to gain a following.
They've been invisible.
They've just been invisible. Yeah. And I think I'm really kind of wonderfully sheltered in the way way that I like see myself in my career, where I'm like, oh, well, everything's just going to go perfectly. And like, and like, this is what I need to do to get ahead. This is what all the guys told me I need to do to get ahead.
I'm just going to be successful.
And then I'll do the thing and I'll be successful.
I think you should just do that.
Yeah, I know. It's perfect.
Let's act as if.
Yeah, and I do because I forget that there
I'm supposed to be
road
oppressed.
bumps.
Hold on a minute.
Right. But then, like, I am. Like, I am pigeonholed, and I am just completely forgotten. And
So when you see it, are you just shocked?
yeah.
And then do you say something? Like, what do you...
Yeah. I had a job where, like, they would have these writers' retreats all the time for all the composers. And I would just show up to work one day, and they'd all be gone.
You weren't invited?
I just wasn't invited.
Were the rest of them guys?
Yeah.
What?
It happened probably once a quarter.
Did they just forget? I mean, in their defense, did they just not think of...
I think the true thing that happened was that, like, I wasn't handpicked by the president of the company as a composer to work there. And so, like, he just had no emotional attachment to me as, like, an employee. And...
But your job was composing?
My job was composing.
They knew you were writing?
They knew I was writing. That was my entire job. And...
Were there other women?
By the time I left, there was one other woman composing.
Was she also not invited to the writers?
No, she was invited because she had been at the company from the beginning. And also, she's awesome, and she deserves everything that she's getting. And, like, I'm, you know...
And you also deserve to be invited to the retreat.
I know. Like, there were times where they, like, flew people out from New York for these retreats. And I would come into the LA office and be the only one there.
How weird.
Super weird.
Would you ask? Like,
oh, yeah.
What's up, guys? And what would they say?
They'd be like, oh, yeah, sorry, we're at the retreat. I'd be like, what retreat, you assholes?
But then would they say, oh, sorry, we forgot to invite you?
Yeah, or, well, it wasn't even that they were forgetting. Like, it was more that, like, my skill set wasn't needed for this. Like, It was really just not being invited. And I'm sure that a lot of that is personal, you know? Like, I'm sure there's something...
Are you just very unlikable and difficult?
I must just be the worst person in the world, honestly.
We can tell. I mean, I wasn't going to say anything, but since you brought it up.
But, like... I'm sure that I could have gotten more work if I had been wanting to, like, suck up to people that I didn't want to suck up to. Mm. And since I wasn't, I just wasn't going to get good work. And I wasn't getting, like, the money-making work. Like, so the place I was working, like, the composers make 12.5% of their royalties. Normally, production libraries take 50%, and then the composers take another 50%. But at this place, they were taking 12.5. So in order to, I mean, sorry, they were taking everything but 12.5. So whatever. That is 87.5. So
that seems like a lot.
It is a lot. And so in order for that model to work for the composer, because, I mean, you're getting a salary, but it's a fairly low salary. And so in order for that model to work, you have to be getting, like, really good, high-paying jobs.
Right.
And when you're not ever asked to pitch for those jobs, you just kind of stay stagnant. And it definitely got better with time as I brought it up and as I got better as a composer, because, like, who knows what, you know, I can make excuses for everybody. Like, who knows what reasons they had for not always pitching me for stuff or inviting me to retreats. But it definitely, like, it's upsetting because I brought it up several times and there aren't really, like, people to talk to at this particular company or people with power. Like, the people with power, like, just don't care. They're going to invite who they want to invite.
Right. Well, they made the decision.
Yeah. They own the company.
All right.
Spilled that tea.
Wow. You got that? Tell me, what do you make of what has happened with women over the last few years?
I'm so happy that this is all out in the open.
Yeah. Is there a shift afoot?
Yes, I hope so. I really hope so. The statistics are not in our favor in terms of that shift happening. Women composers are still like 1% to 3% of the composers on the top budget films consistently. But I'm really encouraged by seeing people like Pinar Toprak, who scored Captain Marvel, first woman ever to score a
wonderful
Marvel movie, and Hilda Gudnadottir. I think that's how you say her name. Hilda Gudnadottir. God, I've got to say
easy
that
for you to say. What's her name?
Hilda Gudnadottir, I think is how you say it.
Okay.
She just scored The Joker and got I'm not going to say that she got an award because I can't remember. I think she might have gotten an Emmy, but I don't remember. Anyway, she scored Chernobyl, and that was an incredible score. So there's a lot of women that are making big headlines, and yeah, I'm really, really hopeful for the future. I think that the Alliance specifically has like made just an enormous difference. And there are a lot of men that support the Alliance, that are on the board, that are providing resources for all of us. And I've been able to like make so many valuable connections with other women, because I think a lot of women before the Alliance just didn't even know that there were other women.
Yeah.
Like, there was no way to know, because we were all getting, like, held with our heads under the water. And, like, once everybody, you know, like, broke the surface, it was like, oh, you guys are here, too?
There's strength in numbers.
Yes, serious strength in numbers thing.
What advice do you have for women who are coming up behind you?
I guess the advice that I would have is to look for tools and stuff that you're interested in, because there are tools out there.
What does that mean? What kind of tools?
There are learning resources and societies like the AWFC that provide not only solidarity, but like practical resources. But I think that solidarity is so important, and way more important than I realized. Mm-hmm. I also would recommend that young women find women to mentor them, or just women to look up to. Mm-hmm. Because that can make all the difference. I feel like most of the advice that I've gotten in film scoring has come from men. And because of that, it's been a lot more guilt and shame oriented. Like, if you're not taking every job, if you're not like depriving yourself of sleep, if you're not working 7 days a week, you're not like doing the job right. It's like all about just like destroying yourself.
Right. Do you have to do it with a cigarette in your hand and a bourbon? Is that how we have to do it?
Yeah, so I think it is.
Do you have to be a tortured artist?
Yeah. And I also think, I wish that I had heard this when I was coming up in music. Like, I heard so many people say, you have to really love it.
Because it's going to be hard? Because
it's going to be hard. And a lot of people also said, like, if there's anything else you can do, do it.
Yeah.
And
I think that's true for all of the arts.
Well, but I think counterpoint on that.
Okay.
Because I heard that so many times, and I always questioned myself about it. Like, do I really love this enough? Oh. Like, I don't think I do. And I felt like, there's, like, obviously there's other stuff I can do.
We can all do other stuff.
Yeah, we can all do other stuff. And I was never one of those people that was like obsessed with film scores. I definitely come more from like the pop fandom kind of world. I'm a huge fan of Ben Folds. And like, I wasn't even really aware of film scoring as a career until I came to LA.
Oh my God.
Like, I mean, I knew that it was a career, but it just didn't really seem like
a real thing.
Didn't really seem like a real thing, and like didn't seem like the thing that I specifically was drawn to. But now that I've seen enough people go through it, I kind of think you have to love it enough and have it not be your soul. Because if the music that you're making is for media, and you're making it for somebody else, because like the music is to serve someone else's story, you know, then like a piece of your soul goes with that. Mm-hmm. And like, I really love being able to be emotionally connected to my work. And almost all the time when I'm doing short films and stuff, it is. But it also becomes very personal, very fast. And I feel like even though I'm not that mega fan, you know, like it still can be painful for me to like have to go through the process of like so many revisions. And
I was just going to ask, how is it receiving notes?
It can be really hard.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah. And especially when you feel like I've just sent off something that's like so good. And so when you've done your best and you receive notes, like it can be painful.
Yeah. Do you have to give it some time?
Sometimes I have to just, you know, give it a couple minutes, you know, and like always my response to notes is like, thank you, you know, because the note is always to serve the content, to serve the music, and to serve the vision. And that's what I'm here to do, you know, like I'm here to like provide a really great emotional service for this person. But I think that if I truly felt that like I was giving up my entire soul for my music, I just don't think I could do it. Like,
It's crushing.
yeah, I've seen people just get totally crushed by it, and people that are like, I can't write for a library, I can't like give somebody else my music, and like, I personally think a lot of that is kind of pretentious, but I get it, and people are different than me.
Yeah.
You know, I love making music. I'm so grateful to like everyone that's gotten me here and to myself for getting myself to a place where I'm truly writing music for a living. Like, that's a dream for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how long did it take you before you were supporting yourself just with your music?
Probably till 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I got like financially independent in like 2017, like 3 years after moving to LA.
So it takes a minute.
Takes time.
Yeah.
And like somebody told me, I think it was Penka Kuneva, who's another wonderful woman composer, told me before I moved to LA that like it takes 5 years to start your composing business.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back and I'm like, oh yeah, all right, it's been 5 years and now I am a composer. Here I am.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you ever compose for fun anymore? Like, do you play music for fun?
Hell yeah. Yeah. I don't have enough time for it all the time, but my plan is definitely to come out with an album relatively soon.
Ooh.
Yeah, probably in the new year. I did a lot of that great singer-songwriter stuff when I was in New York, but that's pretty old at this point. And I've got a lot of songs that I really want to get down. I'm dying to get into the like more songwriting area of the industry. I love scoring. I find it to be so fun, and I really like writing library music too. Like, it can be super fun to just like throw something out there. But I think my heart is really in like the gritty kind of pop, dark pop stuff. I love like the Billie Eilish stuff that's going on, and like Lorde. I loved Lorde, and like.
So is that the big dream? And the composing is the day job?
Isn't that weird?
No, it's not weird at all.
No, it's super weird. Like, I feel like I just heard somewhere, I can't remember what it was, but it was something like everybody is doing their second choice. And like, I love what I'm doing.
I mean, it's pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go ahead and say the second choice there is like from the millions and billions of choices of things you could be doing. Like, it's not a bad second choice.
No.
It's
like,
a great one.
It's right under Rockstar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, now I'm going for Rockstar.
Yeah, good. And why not?
Let me just be extra clear. I've worked my ass off to get to be a film composer and a, full-time person who writes music.
That's amazing.
And I love it. And
let
the record show that I'm pretty thrilled with where I am. And when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, this is like technically kind of my second choice. And I should take a look at that.
All right, we look forward to your album. What did I not ask you about that I should have asked you about?
Oh man, such a good question. I would say that I'm definitely always looking for new clients. And so if anybody...
How do people find you?
My website is edithmudge.com, and I've got some work samples there, and I'm always free on the email to send you more if you want. Stuff I really love to write is sort of that like gritty, dark, kind of like more modern, distorted stuff. But I have been writing for libraries for like 5 years, and I can pretty much write anything.
Yeah.
So,
what's your favorite chord?
Oh my god! I saw a chart the other day that was like, I don't know, from like the 19th century or something, that was describing all of the different keys and what they apparently like, what they represent.
Oh, do tell.
And C is like, or maybe it was D, was gay and warlike. Similar to my friends. Oh my god. Who's awesome. Gay and warlike?
That is awesome.
Just wanted to add additionally that if there are women listening to this that are interested in getting into film scoring or interested in music tech and think that they don't want to do it or can't do it or too dumb to learn it or whatever, just send me an email. I'm always...
You're willing to mentor.
Always looking to encourage some people. So.
Love it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this. This was really fun.
Yeah, this was really fun. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Edith Mudge for sharing her story and her music. You're listening to another piece right now. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out in letters for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. Thanks for listening. See you next time.